Uh, Shalom, shalom, Israel. This is Brother Shai with the servants. We start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shai. Shai, right? Just want to get into a quick Sabbath lesson. Pretty much going into charity. You know what I'm saying? A lot of brothers tend to forget, kind of what this thing is about. Um, we got to keep these laws, statutes, commandments, but all throughout the scriptures, when you read, we know that charity is the greatest thing above it all. You know what I'm saying? And there's a lot of good that comes out of charity because it shows that you're not a selfish person or only worried about yourself. You know what I mean? It shows that you actually worried about your nation, worried about your brothers and sisters, man. Right? So let's get this real quick. Right? Um Salakia. Alright, so let me get this real quick. But we're gonna kick this off on the start. Well, I'm gonna start it off with First Peter. I'll start off with First Peter. Right? This is First Peter chapter 4, verse 8, and it reads, and above all things, I'm gonna start at verse 7. It reads, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober and watch unto prayer. And above all things, have faith, have fervent charity. Right? It says, have fervent charity among yourselves, for charity shall cover the multitude of sins. So we have to have fervent charity, man. You know what I'm saying? We have to make sure that we doing alms. We got to make sure that we giving back to our people, giving back to our household. And charity is gonna cover a multitude of your sins. Ain't no man perfect, ain't no woman perfect. The scriptures say, "Let him who don't sin cast the first stone." Paraphrase, I believe in John 8. We all sin, whether it's willfully or unwillfully. We all going off in some way, shape, or form. But nevertheless, if you want to cover your multitude of them sins, if you kind of want to purge them sins out, you got to do charity. You know, that it's more than just giving. And you got to be sincere about it. It's the act. It's just the little act behind it that counts. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna cover a lot of them sins, right? Let me pull a quick precept that I just thought of real quick. Acts 17 and 30. It says, "In the times of his ignorance, God winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent." So you got to understand this. Even in our ignorance, the Lord was winking at us. He was kind of turning his face, hiding his face when we were sinning before we came to the knowledge of this truth. When you come into this truth, the Lord still got grace, mercy, etc. upon you, but He has mercy on who He has mercy on. But nevertheless, when you have this knowledge, the Lord has a higher expectation of you. He expects you to do more. He expects you to keep the law more. He expects you to have more faith because you know better versus the ignorant. Now, when you're doing charity and then you going off, most high willing, it ain't willfully, but when you still in your sin, the Lord's more prone to wink at you as well. You know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of like, a just balance. You're kind of going off, but damn, to show you kind of, you want to be forgiven and you want to make things right with the Most High, you're going to do that charity. You're going to help your brother, your sister, and things of that nature. So, we'll go to the book of First Corinthians, right, chapter 13. Let's start at verse 1, read on down. First Corinthians chapter 13, verse 1. Though I speak with the tongues of men and of angels, and have not charity, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And what Paul's saying, he's saying he may have the tongues, he may do this, he may be able to do that. But if you're not doing charity, it's kind of like he's just talking. He's not. It really don't matter in a way, right? Verse 2. And though I have the gift of prophecy and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith so that I could remove mountains and have not charity, I am nothing. So Paul's going to be known. He could have the gift of prophecy, right? He could prophesy, right? He could understand all the mysteries, the parables. He could have all this knowledge, right? He could have faith that move mountains, right? The faith, having faith like the grain of a mustard seed, right? But he's saying if he has all these things, but he has no charity, he's nothing. That none of that even matters, you know. Verse 3. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned and have not charity, it profiteth me nothing. Charity suffereth long and is kind. Charity envieth not. Charity vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doeth not behave itself unseemly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil. Rejoice not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in truth. Beareth all things, believe all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Charity never fails. Slakia, charity never faileth. But whether therefore be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then shall I know even as also I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, charity. These three, these three, but the greatest of these is charity. So Paul's letting it be known, yo, if you can have everything you want or need. You could be the top prayer, the know all the precepts, know all the mysteries, breakdowns, prophecy, history, archaeology. You can have the greatest faith, hope in the Most High. He said, but out of all these things, bro, if you don't got charity, you're nothing. All that is in vain. And above all these things is charity. You know what I'm saying? Helping and giving to your people, Paul is saying is above faith and hope. Nevertheless, we know you got to be in the scriptures and in this truth to even believe in the charity. You got people out here who do charity, but it be to be seen of men. They get to post and videos of them doing. Hey, this camps in the truth that do that. They'll post they do charity. I've never once a day in my life posted me doing charity. Me or none of the guys that I label with. That's off as hell. You know what I'm saying? Let me get that real quick. Matthew 6. Right? This is the book of Matthew, chapter 6 and verse 1. Take heed that ye do not your alms before men to be seen of them. Otherwise ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Right? So the Lord is saying, yo, don't do your alms to be seen before people. Right? People, like I said, I've seen there's brothers in the truth that post their alms. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what you're saying or your excuses to motivate people to do X, Y, and Z. You're going off. You know what I'm saying? But even in the world, you got a lot of, people will make vlogs or clips of them giving the poor food and clothes or a few dollars or just sending clothes and that clothes and things like that to charitable events and a whole bunch of stuff. But Yahushua is saying, yo, don't do it before men because they're gonna get their reward, and their reward is them being praised, right? It says, to be seen of them. Otherwise, ye have no reward of your Father which is in heaven. Right? It says, therefore, when thou doest thine alms, do not sound a trumpet before thee, as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and in the streets, that they may have glory of men. Verily I say unto you, they have their reward. And that's what I was just saying. Like, these people, they'll post their clips. They'll let it be known, I'm doing charity, I'm doing charity, I'm doing charity. But it's like, then what? Are you doing it out of the pureness and sincerity of your heart, or is it just to be praised of other men, to seek that reward, for people to tell you, "Oh, good job," or he's a righteous man, or he actually loves his people? We don't need that from the people, the hypocrites, right? These churches, these fake pastors, even though they ain't really doing charity, right? Or just people in the world. We don't need their opinion on their praise for us helping our people and doing what the hell we're supposed to be doing. We don't need that, right? It says they have their reward, and that's their reward, getting praised of men, right? Being told good job, or keep going, or oh, you're really nice, this, that, and the third. Verse 3, it says, but when thou doest alms, let not thy left hand know what thy right hand doeth. That means you don't gotta let the whole world know what's going on, right? You don't gotta tell the next person, oh yeah, I'm about to do this, I'm about to do that, unless you doing it like with your brothers or your sisters, whatever, and y'all plan to go out as a whole and do your charity, right? You don't need to announce it and broadcast it to the whole world. Like, it's not necessary. Verse 4, that thine alms may be in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall secret himself shall reward thee openly. And the Lord's gonna reward you for your charity, right? Um, you know, he's saying do it in secret. You're gonna get your reward. Now, me personally, I'm gonna prefer whatever reward the Father in the name of the Son got for me. I don't care to be told good job, or I don't be care to oh yeah, you're righteous, or you're this. I don't care for that. Especially from men, especially from wicked men. On top of that, I really don't care. That's something I don't, and we shouldn't, based off what Yahweh Shem Shai is saying. Right? We should want to do this out of out of the most sincerity we can possibly do it in. You gotta genuinely want to help them. Right? It gotta genuinely be on your heart to do these things. Right? It's above all things, and we know that you could be the righteous, most mightiest man, but if you ain't doing your charity out of sincerity, it don't matter. You could be doing charity, but if you're letting it be known amongst all men, you're letting your left hand know what the right do, it don't matter. It's in vain. Right? So there's things and ways you gotta go about this, but we know charity is above it all. Right? Let me get this in First Timothy. First Timothy chapter 1 and verse 5. It goes, now the end of the commandment is charity out of a pure heart. I'm gonna read it one more time. It goes, now the end of the commandment is charity out of a pure heart, and of a good conscience, and of faith unfeigned. So, like I was saying, this charity got to be done out of pureness of your heart, out of sincerity. You got to want to do this thing. It can't be forced. It can't be because you were told to do it. Like, yeah, you nigga, you haven't done charity in forever. Go do charity, bro. Go do something. All right. No, I guess I'll do charity. It can't be none of that. Your motive can't be because you want to be seen of men, or get a pat on your back and told good job. Can't be your motive. Your motive got to be, I want to do this. Like, I want to help my people. You know what I'm saying? I'm mourning seeing my people in the lowest state that they're in. You know what I'm saying? Seeing I'm mourning seeing my people not be able to afford what I can barely afford. What my family can barely afford. You know what I'm saying? You gotta actually feel bad, lament, what I'm saying, for these people, which is your people, right? And it gotta be pure. Once again, you gotta want to do these things, right? Our forefathers, our forefathers throughout the scriptures, They wanted to actually help our people, man. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to go out and do this work in all means. The spirit was just on them heavy, and that's why you got to stay in these accounts and really try to resemble and be like your forefathers, because that will really put the spirit on you and have your whole mindset change, right? Let me get this real quick, right? Y'all know it, the famous apocrypha, right? But let's get this in the book of Tobit real quick, right? This is one of the most beautiful accounts. Um, you know, this to me, this is one of the most beautiful accounts in the Bible. You know, just the spirit Tobit was moving in Salakia, right? Let me get this real quick. And Tobit 1. Salakia. All right, let's get this in the book of Tobit, chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse 9. Read on down, and it reads, it goes, furthermore, when I was come to the age of a man, I married Anna, of mine own kindred, and of her I begat Tobias. So this is Tobit speaking. And when we were carried away captive to Nineveh, all my brethren and those that were of my kindred did eat of the bread of the Gentiles. But I kept myself from eating, because I remembered God with all my heart. And the Most High gave me grace and favor before Enemezer, so that I was his purveyor. Right, and we know that Enemezer, we know that this is the king of Assyria during this time period. Shalom tells it out. It goes, and I went into Media and left in trust with Gabriel and the brother of Gabrias at Rags of a city of Media, 10 talents of silver. Now when Enemezer was dead, Sennacherib his son reigned in his stead, whose estate was troubled, that I could not go into the city, into Media, Salakia. This is the point. And in the time of Enemezer, I gave many alms to my brethren, and gave my bread to the hungry, and my clothes to the naked. And if I saw any of my nation dead, or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. Right? So, Salakia. It says, it says, so before I even read on, right? The spirit Tobit was in, he was in the spirit of charity all the time. Like, and we're going to read on too in chapter 2 a little bit. But it says, and in the time of Enemezer, I gave many alms to my brethren. Right? It's accounted for that Tobit did give alms to his brothers. He loved them. He said, I gave my bread to the hungry. He said he gave my bread to the hungry. He gave his own food that his wife may have cooked, that he cooked up in the crib. He was giving to his brothers and sisters on the street. Right? It wasn't just what a lot of us tend to do. We may go out and buy things, prepare for charity, but Tobit was giving the food off his plate he's eating to his brothers to make sure they were good. That's a different type of spirit. It goes, and my clothes to the naked. And if I saw any of my nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, I buried him. Right? And Tobit, he gave his actual clothes off his back to his brothers and sisters, man. Right? And it says, and if he seen his nation dead or cast about the walls of Nineveh, he buried them. Right? You got to understand how deep that is, because that's a different type of love to bury brothers you may not even know. He buried them because when we go back into the law, right? I'm gonna get it real quick. I'm gonna read the next two verses, then I'm gonna go into it. Right, verse 18. It says, and if the king Sennacherib had slain any when he was come and fled from Judea, I buried them privily, for in his wrath he killed many, but the bodies were not found when they were sought for of the king. So this Assyrian king was killing a lot of the Israelites and just tossing their dead bodies and throwing them. Right, but whenever uh the king would send his minions or whatever to go scope out and look for the bodies, they couldn't find them because Tobit was burying his brothers in righteousness. right? We're supposed to be burying our brothers. We can't just leave our brothers dead on the street, stinking, smelling, getting eaten by the beast. You know what I'm saying? Tobit was doing a mighty act, feeding them, clothing them, burying the dead. You know, he was doing. He was one of the most charitable men in the scriptures. It goes, and when one of the Ninevites went and complained of me to the king, that I buried them and hid myself, understanding that I was sought for to be put to death, I withdrew myself for fear. So these you had men snitching on Tobit for burying the dead Israelites, man, our dead Akim, right? And then and he knew that it was punishable by death. The king of Syria didn't want him burying him. He didn't care for us, right? So he actually so Tobit, knowing he could be put to death, still did these charitable acts, these charitable works, and he kind of got caught up, and he had to flee the scenery and get up out of there before they killed him for doing righteousness, for doing charity, right? Let me read this real quick, right? So y'all can have understanding on why Tobit was doing this, man, right? Deuteronomy 21, right? This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 21, and verse number 23. Right, straight to the point. Deuteronomy chapter 21 and verse number 23. It says, I'm going to start at verse 22, and it reads, and if a man have committed a sin worthy of death, and he be put to death, and thou hang him on a tree, his body shall not remain all night upon the tree, but thou shalt in any wise bury him that day. For he that is hanged is accursed of God, that thy land be not defiled, which the Lord thy God giveth thee for an inheritance. So in the law, we would bury our brothers and sisters. Like when you look into history, you know these Edomites, they literally would hang us on a tree and leave us hanging on a tree for days and weeks at a time. And I forgot where I read it at. Somebody I forgot. I don't know if it was like a poem or something like that, but I think it was a poem. But you can smell, basically, you can smell the dead bodies hanging from the tree from miles away. Our ancestors, you know. So, nevertheless, Esau got that from the Lord, hanging us on a tree. They been this been a thing. But the thing is with us is we couldn't stay hanging on a tree. We would have to take them down and bury them, or else the land would be defiled. You know what I'm saying? And we didn't want the land defiled. So Tobit, knowing the law, he wouldn't let us just, whether it was being hung on a tree or just dead bodies lying out in the streets. Tobit knew the law, and he knew that we had to be buried. So he would go out of his way and bury his brothers, which is still a charitable act, right? Let's jump to chapter 2 real quick. Right? Tobit chapter 2 and verse 1. It goes, now when I was come home again, and my wife Anna was restored unto me with my son Tobias in the feast of Pentecost, which is the holy feast of the 7 weeks, there was a good dinner prepared me, in the which I sat down to eat. So Tobit was home, went home. His wife cooked him a dinner that was prepared for him. This dinner was for Tobit, that his wife cooked him. It says, and when I saw the abundance of meat, there was a lot of food cooked, I said to my son, go and bring what poor man Salakia. Go and bring what poor man soever thou shalt find out of your brethren, who is mindful of the Lord, and lo, I tarry for thee. So Tobit's wife cooked a lot of food. There was abundance of meat. And he sent his son Tobias out. He said, yo, whatever brother you find out in the street that's hungry or X, Y, Z, bring him some of this food. Right? There's more than enough. Now, we also got to read this word for word and take into consideration that it says, go and bring what poor man soever thou shalt find out of our brethren. We know Romans 9 lets it be known our brethren are Israelites. So, once again, I know a few camps too that done give charity to the heathen. You know what I'm saying? And they call it being wise. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? The scripture don't say that. You know what I'm saying? Because whatever the charity that you give to a heathen could have been for the next Israelite brother or sister that really needed it, but you giving it to a heathen, playing it wise. So you got to take that into consideration as well. That you only give charity to your fellow Israelite neighbor. That's it. Verse 3. But he came again and said, Father, one of our nation is strangled and is cast out in the marketplace. So when Tobias went out to search for an Israelite to give charity to, um, he found one that was dead near the marketplace. It says, then before I had tasted any of my meat, so before Tobit even ate, it says, I started up, meaning he got up and took him up into a room until the going down of the sun. He went out and got that Israelite brother. Even though he was already dead, he went and grabbed that brother, brought him in his home, right? It says, then I returned and washed myself and ate my meat and heaviness. And once you touch a dead body, according to the law, you're unclean until the sun goes down. So he had to go wash himself, and then he was eating his dinner, but in heaviness, meaning he was sad that he even just had to do that. Like, damn, I sent my son out to go feed the homeless, the poor, whatever, and he runs into another dead Israelite, man, another one, and he had to go out and retrieve that body, hide him until the sun goes down because the Syrian king already was sending men out to try and kill Tobit, and you could get put to death if you're seen doing that. Because remember, these is heathens that we're dealing with. And he kind of had him just waiting in the cut until he was done eating, waiting for the sun to go down, just eating like, damn, I really just had to do that. He's probably eating, still thinking like, damn, man, I still, and after this, I still gotta go and bury this man. Like, it's during Pentecost. This is all during a feast day. Imagine on a feast day, Purim just passed, and destruction in Nicanor. Imagine Purim and destruction in Nicanor. You with your congregation or whoever you labor with or you're in this truth with, y'all eating, looking forward to a good time, doing your thing, and then y'all's like, we got mad food, table full of food. Let's go out and see if we could give some of this food to another brother or sister we found on the streets. And you go outside your home or if your congregation has a school, anything like that, and you run into a dead brother and sister laying out in these Babylonian streets. That's gonna mess you up for the rest of the night. Like, damn, you're supposed to be feasting. You went out to go get food to your brothers and sisters, and then you kind of just run into a dead body, and you got to figure out what you're gonna do. You're gonna call Esau to come grab that body, probably just toss it in a damn river or something. They don't care about us. They don't care about the black Hispanic man, right? You got to figure something out. But Tobit, he went out there during Pentecost, said, damn, him and his son ran into the dead body. He's figuring out he gotta bury it. He gotta figure out what to do. He brings him back home, wait for the sun go down to still bury him. So as the sun's going down, he's eating his meal during Pentecost with his family and heaviness, still thinking like, yo, I still gotta bury a dead body. I'm trying to do this charity, give it to my people, and I can't. This is stressful. The Israelites always been in stress, right? It goes. Let me read verse 5 again. Then I returned and washed myself and ate my meat in heaviness, remembering that prophecy of Amos, as he said, your feast shall be turned into mourning, and all your mirth into lamentation. Therefore I wept, and after the going down of the sun, I went and made a grave and buried him. So, it was Pentecost. We try to have mirth in the spirit here and there, but hey, man, sometimes that could happen. Your mind can wander, go astray. You could think of something. You could think of your captivity or whatever. But they seen a dead body in the flesh during their feast, and Tobit knew he had to do something about it, uh, uh, uh especially in Nineveh during the Assyrian captivity, right? And why Tobit's mighty as hell because he was like, look, I'll get put to death for burying my brothers. I'll get put to death for keeping the law, and that's why he's another mighty forefather that I acknowledge heavily in this thing. Right? He was just different. He had a different spirit. He really had that charitable spirit. Right? Verse 8. This is important right here. It goes, but my neighbors mocked me and said, this man is not yet afraid to be put to death for this matter, who fled away, and yet lo, he burieth the dead again. Tobit already, we read in chapter 1, Tobit already had to flee the scene because the king caught on. He sent his minions. They said, yo, where's these dead bodies at? Who's doing it? The neighbors are scoping out being snitches. They some rats running back to the king. It was probably, Raccoon Jake and even some heathens, right? Running back to the king. Yo, Tobit's doing this with that and the third. Burying dead body. The king sent his minions up to kill him. He fled, hid, and now the neighbors is like, yo, bro. They're mocking him, laughing like, yo, bro, didn't you almost just get killed for this not too long ago? That you had to flee, and you doing this same ish again, right? It goes, the same night also I returned from the burial of Salaki, and I'm gonna rest right there, right? So they was like, yo, isn't this the same? Like you just fled not too long ago for doing the same thing, bro, and you really don't care that you can get killed for this? And that was the spirit of these raccoons in our nation and these other heathens. Like, everybody just don't got the spirit. That's another reason why 2/3 gotta go, because it's like, even when you read in the book of Maccabees, the seven mighty brothers, it's like they all got put to death for denying the swine. You got all throughout the scriptures, our forefathers dying for the Lord and dying, standing on business of the Most High. And Tobit was one of them. You know what I'm saying? So, nevertheless, he didn't get put to death, but shit, he was willing to die. You know what I'm saying, and really take it there, right? So that's a mighty account. Let me get this in Acts 16 and 13. Another mighty account. Same some motivation for the sisters too, man, and the brothers. You know what I'm saying? This is just a sister in this account, so I say that. But hey, this applies to everybody. Right, this is the book of Acts, chapter 16. I'm gonna start at verse number 13, and it reads. Yeah, I'm gonna start at 13. It says, and on the Sabbath day, we went out of the city by a riverside, where prayer was wont to be made. And we sat down and spake unto the woman which resorted thither. And a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple of the city of Thyatira, which worshipped God, heard us, whose heart the Lord opened, that she attended unto the things which were spoken of Paul. And when she was baptized and her household, she besought us, saying, if ye have judged me to the faith, to be faithful to the Lord, come into my house and abide there. And she constrained us. So this is another quick little account too, that I like to get into, because it's like, yo, this woman, she opened up her home for these men to dwell in. You got to understand these apostles, these disciples, all these men, they didn't have cars, right? They didn't have okay. They didn't have cars. They didn't have trains. They didn't have planes. They was walking all over these places, Asia Minor, right? They was walking to so-called Israel and West Asia and Turkey and Europe and all these different places. They was on foot. So a lot of these men had to rest. There wasn't hotels, motels. There wasn't none of that, right? So a lot of these people that they ran into would offer up their homes. That's an act of charity. Like, yo, I know you do the work. I know you travel. I know you put in pain for this nation. Just dwell in my house for a night or two, eat, drink, sleep, and kind of chill out and get your rest. I got you. You know what I'm saying? Servant. I know you're a servant of the Most High. So Lydia, that's kind of what she did for these men. You know what I'm saying? And she kind of just let them dwell and rest there. Paul and Silas and Timothy, right? Let me get this. Let me get this. You know what I'm saying? The greatest example of them all, man. Right, Yahweh Shai. Right, let me get this example. Yahweh Shai, man. Right, got about three more precepts. But it's not gonna be too long of a lesson. Right, it's the book of Matthew, chapter 14. I'm gonna start at verse number 13. When Yahweh Shai heard of it, he departed thence by ship into a desert place apart. And when the people had heard thereof, they followed him on foot out of the cities. And Yahushua went forth and saw a great multitude, and was moved with compassion toward them, and he healed their sick. So we know Yahushua, he was healing them, the sick. You know, this is what he's known for. Right, verse 15. And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, "Oh, Salakia, man. Oh my God, that was hell." Right, Salakia, man. I got a phone call, and that done messed everything up. But we're gonna jump right back into it. This is Matthew chapter 14. We start at verse number 15. It says, "And when it was evening, his disciples came to him, saying, This is a desert place, and the time is now past. Send the multitude away, that they may go into the villages and buy themselves victuals. But Yahushua said unto them, they need not depart. Give ye them to eat." So the disciples, the Lord was putting in pain all day. You know what I'm saying? That's what Yahushua was doing. He was putting in pain all throughout the day. He was healing the sick, had compassion on them, and he was just doing what he had to do as the Lord. And basically the disciples were like, "Yo, like it's been all day, bro. Like you need to chill type." And send them away. Let them go buy their victuals. Let them go do what they need to do. But Yahushua, the spirit he was moving, he was like, "Bro, like, nah, they don't need to go nowhere. We gonna feed them. Right? We're gonna take care of them." Verse 17, it reads, and they say unto him, we have here but 5 loaves and 2 fishes. So the disciples like, bro, we got damn 5,000 people here. How are we gonna feed 5,000 people with 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes? Right, but they tend to forget who they dealing with. They walking with the Son of God. It reads, verse 18. Yahushua said, he said, bring them hither to me. And he commanded the multitude to sit down on the grass, and took the 5 loaves and the 2 fishes, and looking up to heaven, he blessed and brake and gave the loaves to his disciples, and the disciples to the multitude. And they did all eat and were filled, and they took up of the fragments that remained 12 baskets full. And they had and they that had eaten were about 5,000 men, beside women and children. So the Lord was able to feed over 5,000 people with just 2 fishes and 5 loaves of bread. Why? Because he's the Lord. You know what I'm saying? He has you can't. It's not even. It sounds unfathomable, but that's where faith comes into play. It's like, the Lord made it happen. He, who knows? He could have damn multiplied the fish, looking up to Yahweh, like, hey Father, like we need something going. You know what I'm saying? We need something to work over here, man. You know what I mean? And he could have worked his magic, whether he multiplied the fish and the bread, he chopped them up into pieces, and that one small piece just made everybody full. Who knows? But nevertheless, he was able to feed over 5,000 people. You know what I'm saying? It's a crazy account, right? Now, those is all physical accounts of charity, as far as helping your people on a physical fold, but that's not the only way to help your people, right? Let me get this. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 61, and I'm gonna start at verse 1. It reads, the Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound. Right? So we know that this is the original gospel. Right? What's being quoted in Luke the 4th chapter is from Isaiah the 61st chapter. Now we see that there's the word tidings in here, right? That's where you get the gospel, right? It says, anointed me to preach good tidings. This is charity right here. Right? We're preaching good tidings unto the meek, right? The brokenhearted, the captive. We know these are the Israelites. When you read on down all the way to verse 3, to them, to those who mourn. Let me read it. It says, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion. Right, so we know this gospel is sent only to the Israelites. Right, this is another form of charity, going out there and teaching your people who they are. So you may not always have the funds to be able to help your people. You may not always have, afford to give the clothes off your back, because that may be the only shirt you got. Right, but if you come into the knowledge of this truth and you're able to let your people know who they are, that's another form of charity. Preaching and teaching these good tidings, preaching and teaching these laws, preaching and teaching faith, preaching and teaching the accounts of our mighty forefathers and foremothers, and how we're supposed to be moving, and putting that spirit on our people to come back to these laws and repent and keep the faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. Right? Let me get the book of Romans, chapter 10, real quick. I'll get two more. I'm gonna call it. All right, this is the book of Romans, chapter 10. I'm gonna start at verse 15. It reads, And how shall they preach except they be sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of them that preach the gospel of peace and bring glad tidings of good things. Right? So, Slakia. Right? Verse 16, but they have not all obeyed the gospel, for Isaiah saith, Lord, who hath believed our report? Right? So you got to understand that even preaching these good tidings can bring peace. preaching these good tidings is an act of charity once again. It ain't all about just making a damn sandwich and giving it out. Because you can give a sandwich to your people, but if they're going back into wickedness and you have that knowledge obtained, it's like, what are you really doing? You know what I'm saying? You gotta give them a sandwich and let them know the Lord. Give them a shirt and let them know that it's the Sabbath day. You know what I'm saying? Give them a shirt or clean foods to let them know what clean foods they ain't supposed to be eating. You know what I'm saying? So let me get this real quick. And that brings me to my last verse right here, right? In the book of John, right? This is the book of John, right? I'm going to start at 21. This is the book of John, chapter 21, and verse number 15. It reads, So when they had dined, Yahushua said unto Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my lambs. He saith to him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He saith unto him, Yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, Feed my sheep. He saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he saith unto him the third time, Lovest thou me? He said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Yahushua saith unto him, Feed my sheep. Verily, verily, I say unto thee, when thou wast young, thou girdest thyself and walkest young, thou and walkest thither thou wouldest. But when thou shalt be old, thou shalt reach forth thy hands, and another shall gird thee and carry thee whither thou wouldest not. This he spake, signifying by what death he should glorify God. And when he had spoken this, he saith unto him, Follow me. Right? So we're gonna leave it right there. That's just kind of going to how Peter is gonna die, which we know he died the same way how Shai did. But nevertheless, the Lord is saying if you love him, feed his sheep. Right? Feed his people, man. You know what I'm saying? Because the 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 second greatest commandment is loving your neighbor as yourself, right? When you go back to Leviticus 19, you gotta warn your people and not suffer sin upon him. That's part of feeding the sheep. You letting them know who they are. You letting them know what laws they gotta keep. You giving them back their nationality, their heritage, their language, their roots, their history. You warning them of what's to come, like Ezekiel 3 says. You know, so you got to take all these things into consideration. Charity isn't just a physical act; it's a spiritual act as well. And there's various different ways of doing alms and charity, man. Right. So without getting too deep in this lesson, you know, that's pretty much what I want to go into. You know, we giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit on me to do so. Most High willing, the nation was edified with the few precepts I did bring out. Salaki for the interruption. And most high willing, everyone has a mighty Shabbat. Kwame Shalom. Shalom.